Hey everybody, it's AP, and today we're finishing R2 1.5. Here we go. So the next thing I'm going to do in R2 is fix the dome panels, particularly the pie panels at the top of his head. These are the blue things that pop up and down in the various movies. The periscope comes out. I printed my hinges instead of buying metal ones, and what that means is I have to heat them up and mold them to the curvature of the dome, because when you print something in 3D, it prints, it prints flat, or these particular hinges print flat. So I thought I had them done all right when I first printed them months and months ago, but the hinges or the dome panels, they kind of flop around a little bit and make a little bit of a clanking sound because they're not sitting flush to the dome. So I'm going to go through with the heat gun, heat up those plastic hinges, mold them a little bit better so they fit flat and flush to the dome, and hopefully I don't burn down the house while doing this. Okay, wish me luck. So as you can see, that when you tap it, this edge is actually up a little bit, so I have to go through and remold these just a little bit so they're sitting nice and flat. The hinges were printed in PLA, which gets soft at around 160 degrees, so I used my heat gun on its lowest setting, making quick, sweeping motions to avoid melting the whole thing. Once the PLA was soft enough, I took my pie panel and pressed it against the hinge. I used my other hand to get in under the dome to push against the other side, clamping the pieces together in essence. I let the PLA cool for about 30 seconds and then proceeded to reattach the pie panels with 0.8mm VHB tape. I had a hard time finding the right thickness of tape to attach all the metal pieces and found this to work the best for me. I'll put a link to it in the description below so you can pick some up. I repeated this for the other 5 panels and gave them all the tap test. Much better. The next few things that I need to do require me to take R2 off of his legs. And this guy's heavy, so here we go. Okay, now that R2 is off of his legs and he's in multiple pieces strewn about my office, the next thing I'm going to do is reattach all the door panels. There's 4 of these, 2 in the front, 2 in the back. Now, I was going to have them open and close on hinges with servos. I'll be honest with you, I don't think I'm ever going to do that. So I'm just going to permanently mount these with E6000. And so I'm going to temporarily hold them in place with some duct tape on the back, and then wrap them with some strap clamps, and then put some E6000 on the back of them from the inside, and that should create like a seal connecting it to the actual body, and that should hold that in place pretty well. You know, E6000 has a great bond to it, so let's start gluing these together. I first needed to file the openings to make sure I got as tight a fit as possible. I didn't want any gaps on my doors. Once fitted properly, I put a bead of E6000 along the inside edge of the door panels and then duct taped them in place. This made putting the strap clamps on much easier. Once the strap clamp was in place, I put another bead around the inside seam for some extra stability. You know me, all about the stability. Okay, while the E6000 is curing on those panels, I'm going to move on to fixing the shoulders of my legs. So as you can see here, there's this aluminum flashing around the shoulder where it goes into the body. This is about a 1/2 inch too narrow. It needs to be a little bit wider to hide the gap once it's actually on the body. So I'm just going to remove these pieces here, cut a new piece of flashing at the right width, and then just reapply it. To remove the shoulders, I needed to remove 2 screws and then gently pull off the aluminum flashing. The flashing was hot glued down to help hold it to the wood, so I needed to clean up the dry glue in preparation for fitting the new shoulders. Back in the shop, I laid out my aluminum flashing and cut to the same length. However, I made the width a little wider at about 2.5 inches. My original width was 1 3/4 inches, so hopefully this will give me the amount I need to hide the gap. I put them back in place following my same method as before. Hot glue, lay down the flashing, then screw everything in at the bottom. I had a small gap between the ends, so I used some aluminum tape to help close that up. Since it's facing the bottom and won't get a lot of eyes on it, I thought this was a good solution. So while I have the legs off, I'm going to use this as an opportunity to run my wires down the leg that will eventually connect to the wheels in the feet. I'm going to run 12 gauge 14 gauge wire down the sides here. I'm hoping that's enough. That's a proper gauge for these wheels. It's all very confusing when you look on the forums as to what gauge you should be using, and it all has to do with power and all this stuff that I haven't just figured out yet. So let's get that done. I just need to figure out how to do this. Yeah, this won't be that hard. The legs are hollow, so figuring out how to get the wires in wasn't an issue. It was how to push them through that proved to be a challenge. I was able to get the wires partially in, however needed some assistance to pull them through all the way. I had a hook handy, so I just screwed it to the top of a 1/2 inch wood dowel and used that to grab the wires and pull them through. It's time to fix the center vents. The way I currently have it installed, there's not a lot of support, which makes it easy to push in. And also, it's uneven, so I find it very distracting to the eye. This is going to require a little bit of surgery to fix, so bear with me. Due to the tight space, I only had enough room for one 1/16 inch thickness aluminum L-brace. I didn't want to cut the frame, so the next best thing was to shave off some of the center vent itself. This was just a 3D print in ABS, so I put it to the belt sander and knocked off about 1/16 of an inch to accommodate a second brace. I then took my cut L-brace, added some screw holes, bent to match the curvature of the frame, and popped it back into place. Now with 2 braces holding it, we're now even and very solid. Okay, I think this is the last thing I need to do before R2 1.5 is complete. I am going to bolt in this L bracket down to where the feet, the center foot is attached. Run this up against the gas pipe and then run a U-bolt around that. And what that's going to do is it's going to hold the legs at the angle that they need to be, which I think is 30 degrees. I have to double check that on the forum. So first step is to mark this and cut it with the hacksaw and then bring it back up and we'll start bolting everything together. After I got my measurement, I went to the shop to cut the aluminum bracket down to size. I learned on astromech.com that if you notch the U-bolt, it helps create a grip around the gas pipe, so I figured I'd give that a go since I have the saw out. Now it's time for the install. Unfortunately, my camera angle is only getting my head, so I can't show you how I bolted it into the bottom. When you get to this part though, it'll make sense. On to the top, oh, there's my fat head again.
Heat! Move!
I just bolted in the U-bolt as tight as I could get it. It feels pretty solid. However, the true test will happen when I get R2 on his wheels. That's R2 2.0 though. So there he is in all his glory. He doesn't do much right now. He just stands there and lights up, which is okay because that's what I wanted. R2 1.5 was just about the cosmetic changes I wanted to make. R2 2.0 is actually making him fully remote control. He'll be able to move, his dome will move and rotate, he'll be able to move along on his wheels, he'll make noises, everything will light up and function properly. But that's a video for another time. Thank you for watching. Make sure you subscribe and like the video. Share this with your friends. If you're working on an R2, I'd love to hear about it. Leave me a note in the comments. And until next time, stop planning and start making. Take care, everybody.